I hope you folks will join us today as we not only enjoy amazing views, but we forge a path with the Winkler Pathfinder designed by Jason Knight. Nothing like enjoying a warm cup of joe, talking about a gorgeous blade and rolling in a bunch of beautiful blade footage for you this morning. Guys, I am pumped to talk to you about this Winkler Pathfinder knife because I love the look, the shape, the materials, all of it. I mean, it literally feels like it was riding on the belt of some late 1700s, early 1800s trapper, pathfinder, explorer, something Lewis and Clark was carrying on their belt or something, and then it hopped off the historical page and onto my belt. I mean, that's how it feels. That's how it looks to me. It's got this earthy, gritty feel and look to it that I love, but still giving you just such elegance in its design, ergonomics, and a lot of that. So I'm going to break it all down for you today, but I'm also going to talk about the price tag. We'll get to that. I'm going to roll in some other blades just so we talk about, it's been a long time since I've thrown down with shipping and tax and all that from Blade HQ. It was about close to $400. I mean, I paid $385 plus tax, and when you do the math on that, it was almost $400 for this knife. I mean, that's a pretty penny. What does that look like compared to what else is out there? And does it really make sense? We'll hit all of that today, guys, but really looking forward to this. Okay, so I'll bounce into some basic specs real fast for you guys and running in tons of blade footage along the way. What we are looking at is from handle to tip on the blade is a 4.75 inches overall with an actual cutting edge of 4.125. So just a hair over 4 inches. Perfect for a belt knife, in my opinion. Now we are looking at a thickness on the stock right here, right where the handle scales start, of 0.2 and then tapers down to that precision tip with that very large harpoon-shaped swedge there, kind of giving it that harpoon look to it. I don't know what type of finish they're doing on here. It looks kind of smoky, like it's pulled out of a 18th century, forge, and which I really like. It really connects with me. This black smoky coating to help fight against rust. It's holding up extremely well. I've beat on this thing extensively, and it's holding up well. That wear resistance on the type of coating that they are doing. Now the steel is going to be 80 CR-V2 steel. Now I've used that in one or two other blades from different companies, never on a Winkler before. Again, this being my first Winkler, and I'm not a steel nut. Some of you guys spend hours on forums and doing all the research and stuff. It's holding a great edge. It's got a great edge on it for the thickness of the blade, and we'll talk through all the performance here in just a second. And it's rather easy to work on in the field, which is important because of the design and just kind of the idea, I believe, of the knife. You got to be able to put an edge on it without having to have like a wicked edge sharpener with you. It's got to be able to, with a simple ceramic rod, tune it up, and then with a diamond stone be able to take out any damage that may occur or anything like that. So I like the steel from what I have seen and used on a few other blades. And we are looking at basically a full flat grind. It goes all the way up to this swedge and where that starts. So it's basically a full flat grind. So guys, had a blast using this knife in every way, regardless if it was stabbing, regardless if it was through cordage cutting and rope cutting and nylon cutting, seat belts, that type of stuff, and all sorts of outdoor use. Making a feather sticks for a fire, making spears, and spear tips, regardless of for fishing or if it would be for some sort of trap that I was doing, all that type of stuff. It was a lot of fun. Even some food prep for how thick the blade is. It actually is a decent food prep knife, better for like maybe fish or something like that. But you can cut up a few fruits and apples around the campsite, whatever it would be. Now I will speak to that thickness. That 0.2 is a little stout for me in my preference points for a knife of this size. My preference is more around like 0.16. Now the way that they have designed this and the term Pathfinder, I believe, really applies to how this knife performs and the idea with it. This is not called the Woodsman. This is not called the Bushcrafter. This is called the Pathfinder. And so I wouldn't say it's the best woodscraft knife I own. I think it's a good general utility knife and really, performs well for that and has just such a cool feel to it and very high performing, but it's more of a utility knife, general purpose blade. If you're looking for a bushcraft crafter that you're going to be doing, you know, all kinds of little notching and bowl cutting and all that type of stuff, you know, making a bowl and making, you know, a fork and a knife and or a spoon, you know, out of wood, then this probably is not the best suited blade for you. Winkler makes other knives that might be better. They even have, I believe, what they call one a woodsman. The main reason for me is one, the stoutness of the blade, because it is definitely, I think, more of a general utility blade, but also this swedge. Now, I love swedges. I've come to fall in love with them. This up here, this harpoon look is just amazing. The thing I want to touch on, though, is that it is quite sharp up here. It's not quite a cutting edge, but it is very close. And if I really, I mean, I could probably put a ceramic rod on this back here and probably get it sharp enough that it could cut through some nylon cordage or something like that. It is quite precise on this back spine here, which means that for you to do any sort of a notch, a trigger notch or something like that, you really have to put your thumb right here inside this cut area before the swedge where the jimping's at, and then you only have about an inch to work with, and you can't really work with the front end of the blade. It was not comfortable. I did not enjoy using the front end of the blade when I put my thumb on there, even with like leather gloves on, to try and make some sort of a notch. This is not a notching knife. It's not enjoyable. There are much better tools in my collection that can do better with that. Now, that swedge not only makes it look amazing, but it's a fantastic piercer. It's designed, you know, to be able to penetrate very well. Again, going more to the idea of a Pathfinder, I think also not only in that like old world design, but I'm thinking of like the World War II Pathfinders. I believe they're paratroopers. You know, like that. This would be a fantastic blade to have on their belt that they can use as kind of a compact utility knife for any task, including, you know, sticking a Nazi if need be, in the design of the blade. So I want you to keep that in consideration, because it also really chewed up the batoning stick. Now, it's only a 4-inch knife, so you're not going to split a lot of wood. You could do some quick kindling, but it's going to chew up that batoning stick real quick because, again, the swedge. So you just need to know that going into the knife, that and going into the design of the blade, the swedge is amazing. Not only does it look great, but it gives it great piercing capability, but it's definitely a drawback on some of the woodscraft aspects to the knife. So just keep that in consideration when you are considering the blade. As long as you understand the idea of a utility knife, I think you'll be super happy and pleased with the design. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the handle and the design, different materials. Now, there are a few different designs as I'm looking right now on the Blade HQ website where I get to pick this up. This, I believe, is walnut. I don't see it available right now for that, and I did go with the walnut version. I just wanted something a little bit different. I have tons of, you know, G10 and molded rubber and Kraton and micarta and, you know, like all the different stuff that's out there. So this, I believe, is walnut. It's not available when I'm making the video. They may be making short runs of it. You know, who knows what type of wood they may be using down the line. You can, right now, when I'm filming this, you can find it with a rubber form of handle scales if you want that really grippy texture, or you can get micarta. So those are versions that are also available with these handles. I love the wood. You can just see the graining on there, a little bit of wear, and that's okay. I want it to look that way. Again, going to the look, the feel of the blade is just so amazing, so iconic to me. Really like that aspect a lot. It is a pinned in form of handle scales. We do have that lanyard hole back in there. You got that full tang construction again, with that tang tapering down there to give it that phenomenal balance. Now, the overall handle length is 4.875 inches. Overall handle length, you're looking at 1.25 inches from top to bottom, and then a thickness, maximum thickness of 0.67 on the overall thickness of the handle here. And that's going to be kind of in the middle, and then it tapers down very slightly back here near the lanyard hole. Large up front, thick up front with those scallops. They really did a nice job there. Really fits well in my large size hands. So it doesn't feel too narrow, feels perfect for me and how it fits. Even in a reverse grip, feels perfect. We've got that nice steel guard right there that's going to keep me really locked into place. That jimping, I love this type of jimping because it's not sharp, but it definitely gives me something to grab onto. So there, it doesn't feel painful if I was doing lots of pressing, lots of different cuts. Even in a reverse grip, it's doable. The way the handle drops, though, it's just barely kind of fits in the crux of my hand, back in the fat of my hand back there, to do some reverse pull grips. You could do it. Again, not really designed as a woodsman knife for all sorts of bushcraft style tasks. There are other Winklers out there on the market that you could take a look at that have better handle designs for that. But we got that nice jimping, nice cut in right there. It just feels amazing. Zero hot spots. The scallops, even when I'm pointing, you know, if I was doing some sort of game cleaning or something like that, would feel fantastic in the hand if you needed to do some sort of cuts like that. So it really is a perfect ergonomic feel in the hand for my size hands, large size gloves, and giving you the traction that you want and giving you a perfect curvature into the palm of your hand. So this is by far one of the coolest sheaths I've ever seen, ever. And I've reviewed hundreds of fixed blades at this point in the channel over the 7 years that we've been doing this. And so what I love about this thing is that it's a hybrid leather Kydex mix, and we'll go through all that. What we have here is a really good retention clip, very, very, very strong, that you can rotate, so you can either have it up, facing down, or sideways. So there's many different ways that you could attach this. It is mounted very well onto that piece of Kydex right there that you can then swap to be ambidextrous, or you could completely take them out. These seem pretty wide. You might be able to get a Blade Tech lock on there. You might have to modify it in one way or another, but that's the multiple ambidextrous ways that you can lash this thing, and it's very secure. I hiked 17.7 miles on that trek that you saw in the beginning there with this writing clipped onto one of my suspension straps onto my belt of my Scree 32 backpack, and it was perfect. And I never was concerned that, am I gonna lose this thing? I mean, this is, you know, an expensive blade. I mean, I don't want to lose it on the trail halfway up the Continental Divide and then never see it again or have to trek 10 miles back to find it. So I was confident in the security of the clip. Now we have really nice stitching on that leather all the way around. You can see the pieces of Kydex in between there. No drainage hole. That is something I would have liked to have seen. And then it comes back around, grabbing the blade very nicely. You can even see the scallops there. So I mean, it's contoured very well. There's no rattle at all, deathly quiet, which I really like, and super snug and secure in there. Now, that is something to consider. Now, I can grip my hand just like that and then push off with my thumb, and it is somewhat of a long draw, but then I am locked in and ready to deploy. So if you were you know, using this as a self-defense tool, it is doable. It's not the fastest draw I've ever seen, but for the design and how secure the knife is and snug the knife is in there, I think it is doable, and particularly how quiet it is. Then you can obviously see there the Kydex is splitting when I pull that out. And then inside we have what feels like felt. I believe they probably put some sort of felt liner in there into the Kydex, that's what makes it quiet. So you have that on the other side, and that's sewn in as well. And then you see the little rim, whoop, there we go, if I'm in shot there. And then you can see the little rim of Kydex going through. So it does have a little bit of flex there, but you get that leather exterior, felt lined interior, and Kydex molding to really give you a super snug, durable fit, but something that looks super elegant and is silent at the same time. So now comes the moment of truth. As I've discussed a few times throughout the video, the price. This took a long time. This was sitting in my cart for about 3 days before I finally pulled the trigger, just weighing it. Do I really want to spend that much money on a knife like this? Because guys, most of my collection, most of the stuff you've seen here, it tops out at about like $260 for some of the knives. I have probably 2 or 3 knives that go above that price point. It's very rare that I'm willing to spend that much money on a knife. And I did that, you know, and I was like, you know what? I've never owned a Winkler. I want to purchase it. I want to try it out. This really connects with me. Now they do have a smaller version that's more quote unquote EDC friendly that I think is like 3.5 inches. It's more compact. It's the exact same profile, just smaller. And that one I think is a little bit cheaper. So you can take a look at that as well. I will have links over to Blade HQ as well as Amazon and GP Knives throughout this video that you can take a look at. I did purchase this one from Blade HQ because I believe were the only ones that actually had this model. But if you want to check out other Winklers, Amazon, GP Knives, I believe carries them, and again Blade HQ. So those will all be in those links below. I appreciate it when you use those hyperlinks that we offer to you guys. So I want to talk about a knife probably, or a knife profile and materials that probably a lot of you will connect with and know. Here's a Tops Hog 4.5, right? USA made, $10.95. The Winkler's USA made, by the way. I don't know if I said that. USA made, 1095 steel, powder coated, micarta handle scales. It now comes with a leather sheath. You know, a lot of knives from Tops and Essie and K-Bar, you know, all those companies, they're all going to be right around like $130, $140. You'll get Kydex or you'll get leather that's pretty good. And for the money, fantastic, fantastic knives, right? Good ergonomics, good profile. Very similar, this knife, except without the giant swedge on it, basically. Very similar in capabilities, though I would argue even this Tops Hog will be a little more enjoyable for pure woodscraft because of the flat back spine here, but it won't be quite as utility and tactically motivated, and definitely nowhere near as high end in the materials and fit and finish. The Winkler is going to have definitely a leg up on that. But I mean, compared to 385, we're looking at what, 140. I mean, do you need, I'm just asking the question for you, do you need a $400 knife in your collection? Maybe you do, maybe you love it, and maybe you can't comprehend something that's $130 being useful to you. But for a lot of people, you're gonna get, I mean, unless you're out there literally every day, I mean, you're gonna get very similar performance out of these two knives, you know, in the sense of capability. Then we'll roll in here one of the more expensive blades I've ever used, definitely on the higher end for me, is the Bradford Knives Guardian 5.5 in CPM 3V steel. Again, USA made. You can get it in lots of different handle combinations, very similar, you know, whatever. This thing's, I think, like 260, I believe. You know, and kind of the same weight class, size range, very premium materials, very high quality. But again, at least I believe $100 cheaper than the Winkler. So that's something that you just need to consider. And I believe that you are getting a level of like semi-custom, you know, mid-tech level, absolutely, with this Pathfinder. But it's just something that I want to touch on, that I'm a realistic guy, and that to tell me that the Winkler is going to magically do something better than either of these knives or many other knives that are out there is, I believe, not true. You can get extremely high quality fit and finish, good quality materials, all of that, and you don't necessarily need to pay the close to $400 price point. Now, it won't be a Winkler. It won't have some of the higher end materials like the wood and the pendant and the fit and finish and attention to detail. You know, some of those things, you know, you obviously won't get. And so by no means am I bashing the Winkler on its price point. I'm just giving you some food for thought, things to think about and to consider before you drop your hard-earned money. Because here's the real moment of truth. Would I do this all over again? Would I save up, drop about $400 on this Pathfinder if I could do it all over again, now having used it, now having experienced what a Winkler has to offer? That's really the question that I've been weighing for myself. Would I do it all over again? Absolutely, 100%. Would I go with this blade again? And in fact, I'm already putting a little money aside. It's going to take me a few months for sure, but I want to get my hands on one of their other blades as well, that I can begin to start using them, because there's just not only such a level of performance because of the materials and ergonomics and fit and finish, but there's also just an experience that I believe is coming with this knife and knives like it, you know, that it gives me a feel. And at this point in the game, for me, literally having tubs of knives and, you know, trading and selling and you know, whatever, it has to be something special to connect with me. So if you're looking for something special, unique, that very few other people will be able to say is riding on their belt and that they can rely on to perform when, you know, duty calls, basically, then yeah, I mean, consider it. Now, you got to consider, is some of these other blades we've talked about better, more cost efficient? You know, that's what I've always wanted to do here and give you guys those data points. But you will see other Winklers down the line here as time goes on. It will take me some time because of the price, but the value that I get, not only in the experience, but in the performance and uniqueness of the blade, is worth it to me. It is worth it to me. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts though, too, particularly from other Winkler users. Want to hear from you guys what your experience has been with the brand, with the company, your thoughts on Winkler designs, but also you guys who maybe don't own one. Do you think like 400 is just way out of the price point, it's just silly, or like, yeah, dude, that's like a dream knife of mine that I'm gonna save up for? Want to hear your guys' thoughts. So guys, I hope that this video has been entertaining but also informative, giving you data points, giving you food for thought to help you make a wise choice on the Pathfinder and whether or not it's the right blade for you if you're in the price point in the market for one sick high-end blade. So check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media. Check out the video popping up, the subscription button if you're not a current subscriber. We're throwing up videos like this every single week. We appreciate you guys following along and being part of the family. And finally, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.